begin by saying something that's, there's been some very tragic things that have been happening here in the Holy Land. And somebody pointed out that it's unique that sadly the people that were killed in a number of these attacks have been siblings, in a number of groups of siblings. And it's horrible. And something to think about, and I was very moved when I heard this and I started thinking about this, is that Hashem is always speaking to us. Hashem knows everything that's happening. And if somebody does something crazy like that, and it's siblings that are taken from the world, there's some message that Hashem is saying that we need to pay attention to what it means, siblings, brothers, sisters. That maybe, just maybe, that there's something about that all of us that are supposed to be siblings, Acheinu kol beis Yisrael, that we're all brothers and sisters, maybe there's something that we need to pay more attention to the closeness. Are we really, really getting along in the way that we need to? Maybe there's some much bigger vision, some bigger message that's going on now to really try to join and be much closer to everyone in a way of siblings. So that's something that Hashem is speaking to us, and that's a small way that if we can think about this, it could start to create and bring more peace. So I want to move on to an area in the Siddur. We're going to be spending a lot of time, we spoke about learning about prayer, and it's a good idea to bring your Siddur every day. And we're going to be speaking about something that we like to speak about here, which is the entire unfolding of Mashiach coming to the world. Amen. It's a good topic, and there's approval that it's a good topic. And it's interesting to note that inside the Siddur, inside our daily prayers, there is a code. There's a code for the entire arrival of Mashiach. And this is a code that we speak about 3 times a day. And people wonder, why do we seem to say in the formal prayer kind of the same things? Well, the answer is that if you knew the code of what's going on, you could unlock tremendous meaning in the words. So I want to try to unlock some of that code together today. So I want you to open up to Esrei. We say the Esrei every single day, 3 times a day. This is a part of the Jewish prayer book that we say. A lot of what we're going to be doing over the next little while is understanding the Jewish prayer book and to really get into what it means. That there's an order of a prayer that's called the Esrei. People know about the Esrei? The Amidah? Yeah? It's the part of the prayer service that everybody gets quiet. It's always a very cool part, that all of a sudden it's kind of loud and all of a sudden just gets quiet. And there's Shmoneh Esrei literally means 18. But anybody ever counted how many blessings are in the Shmoneh Esrei?
Yeah.
How many are there, Asher?
19.
There's 19. So why do we call it 18? The answer is because there was originally 18 that were set up, and then one more was added, which we'll see later. It was added for a certain very intense level of heresy that came to the world, that we also had to address that. The Shmoneh Esrei is a microcosm for every single thing that a person could want and need in this entire universe. Everything. 19 atomic bombs of connection to God, each one opening up a different part of your soul and filling that yearning, that natural need of a healthy existence in this world. The way that it's set up is that the first 3 blessings in the Shmoneh Esrei are all about praise to the Master of the world, to Hashem. The middle 13 is a request. And the last 3 is thanks. In the same way, modeling after, if you were to go see a great king, you wouldn't go to the great king and just say, please give me this. you would probably say it's a great pleasure to be in the presence of your Royal Highness. To be some level of formal, wow, this is amazing. Then there'd be a request. And then we hope that when you get your request, you don't just book it, that you say thank you. Saying thank you is so basic to the human experience that we feel if somebody doesn't say thank you, are they even human? It's Josh, right? Jamie. You have a Hebrew name, Jamie? Chaim. Nice, good name. I also share the Chaim. So, right, Chaim. So, Chaim, if you were to give somebody something and they didn't say thank you, what would you feel about that situation? Would that feel good to you?
I wouldn't take it personally. You don't know what's going on.
You wouldn't take it personally. Let's say,
sometimes, maybe.
Let's say like...
you just feel like you wasted your time or your effort for that person.
You put in a lot of effort to do something nice for them, and they just took it and just ran away. Now, I like what Chaim is saying. You never know. You never really know what somebody's going through. And that's important. But we do feel that if somebody doesn't say thank you for something, it's just you feel like, I don't want to do that again for them. I feel like...
Hold the door and you should walk right through.
Yeah, at least acknowledge, thanks.
It's like, dude, you were all the way over there, man, carrying all those stuff.
Yeah, and I came back, I put my leg out to grab that door for you, quick save.
Too, right?
It was a good move. He held the door open, and thanks for for going out of your way.
Look at me.
I'm not even looking.
Yeah.
So we feel that there's something just basic about saying thank you. So that's the end of these 19 blessings, is the thank you. The middle is the request. I want to zone into the middle. Okay? The Gemara in Megillah, Yud Zayin Amid Beis, this is a famous Gemara where it talks about what is the reason for the order of all the blessings in Shmoneh Esrei.
Sorry, how many years have the Shmoneh Esrei?
Shmoneh Esrei is 2,000 years ago.
Is it time from the Mishnah?
Times of the Anshe Knesset Gedola. The times of the end of the Second Temple period, where we were transitioning away from the time of prophecy, and we were moving into the time of what's called Chachma, of wisdom. That transition period, it required also people that naturally, before this time, prayer was very spontaneous, it was very organic. There was a natural feeling like a person could just talk to God in a very pure way. And people were living at a very, very exalted level. There was prophets walking the streets everywhere. Imagine just going to shul on a Friday night and just saying good Shabbos to a prophet. Oh, good Shabbos. And the prophet just says good Shabbos. It's pretty good, right? Prophets everywhere. And this is the time that was waning. And we needed to be able to formalize some level of prayer that a person wouldn't lose touch with the power of that connection. So these prayers are a code how to maintain and take you through all the spiritual universes that you could achieve in prophecy, but it's all encoded in these blessings. So a person who thinks, yeah, but it became too formalized. Well, you don't want to go up, you don't want to go to all the higher universes. It's like going to some Swiss bank and some vault, and you want to get your gold. And you say, I'd like to get my gold. And they say, so what's the password? And do you have the key? So you say, come on, password, key, that's so formal. You know what I'm saying? Like, why do I need a key? Just let me in. I'm sorry, there's a door here. If you don't have the right key, but it's so formal. You think the guy's absurd. Like, you need a key to open up that door. You want to get into this, you don't have to come into this vault. If you want to come into this vault, you need a specific key and password to come into the vault. So a person doesn't need to go through all the spiritual universes and go all the way up to the infinite. You don't have to, but God is saying, I want to give you that gift, to go through these chambers, these doors. So the gift was written in these 19 blessings, the Shmoneh Esrei. Okay, so far so good. We're gonna make the journey upwards. So one of the codes that's included in this is how the Messiah comes. It's encoded in here, the sequence of events of what happens. So the Gemara in Megillah says, let's start to talk about some of the order. So if you look in your Shmoneh Esrei, what is the sequence of the blessings? First we ask for wisdom, das, right? Then we ask for, you have it there, Asher? First we ask for wisdom. Have another spot? That's the one for the Shabbos. First we ask for wisdom or insight. Then we ask for tshuva. Hashem, help us be better people. We'll talk about this later. Then we ask Hashem to forgive us. Then we ask Hashem to help redeem us from challenges that are going on in our life. Then we ask Hashem to help heal us. Then we ask Hashem for wealth and prosperity. Prosperity, especially that the land of Israel should burst forth with fruits. That the land that she should produce. Okay, this is what we're going to pick up. You know what blessing comes after you ask for the land of Israel to produce bountiful gifts? Chaim, the next thing that we ask for is to bring all the exiles back from the diaspora. Bring them all home. We're always asking Drake, come on home. Come home. It's time to come home. Right? He's part of the exiles. Bring him home. Back to the holy city of Yerushalayim. Okay? That blessing comes after we ask for the bounty of the land of Israel to burst forth with fruits. So the Gemara is the Talmud. The Gemara is the oral tradition that was given at Mount Sinai and was passed down in an unbroken chain until this very day, and I'm passing it down to you. The Gemara asks the famous question of why is it that the blessing of bringing the exiles should come after the blessing of
Wealth generation.
Beautiful, of asking for the wealth, and specifically that the land of Israel should burst forth with fruits. Because that is wealth. Wealth means, what do you use your money for? You can't eat a piece of paper. Money is synonymous with food, with bounty, with crops. In Egypt, when there was a famine, and then there was 7 years first of plenty, and then a famine in Egypt and the whole rest of the whole world came to Egypt for food. Food meant that they had all the money, all the resources, they had everything. People gave them everything. Just give us food, give us to eat. Food means money. You got some dough in your account? Dough, bread, money, it's all one thing. Numbers on a computer screen are not necessarily money per se. Money really distilled down to its core is eating, something to eat. So the question on the table is, why does the blessing of asking to bring back all the exiles come after the blessing of the land producing fruits? So listen to what the Gemara says. Ma roy loymar kibbutz galiyas la'achar birkus hashanim. Why should we say, bring back the exiles after we make the blessing on allow the land to produce fruits? So I'm going to quote you from Ezekiel. You ready? If you want to look this up, it's always nice to look up the verses. This is in Yechezkel Lamed Vav Ches, Ezekiel 36:8. You got homework tonight to go look tonight in the prophet Ezekiel, and look these prophecies up.
What's the number again, please? 38.
36, verse 8. So the prophet is speaking, is prophesying about the days to come. You tell me if you think this is a little bit happening to you and I today. Ve'atem hare Yisrael, and you, O mountains of Israel. The prophet is speaking about the mountains, the landscape of the land of Israel. An pechem titenu, that your branches should grow forth. Upir yechem tisu la'ami Yisrael, and all your fruits should burst forth once again for the people of Israel. Ki ker v'lavai, because the time has come for the exile to end and people to come back to the land. So what do you see from the prophet? There's a direct connection between the land bursting forth with fruits and the exiles coming back. This was specifically in the end of the Babylonian exile, when in the times of Koresh, we were going to come back to the land, and the land started to produce fruits, and we all started to flock back to the land of Israel. Anybody know what this land looked like 80 years ago, 100 years ago? It was a deserted wasteland. The way that Mark Twain describes it, it was thorns and thistles, an inhospitable, horrible land that has nothing, had nothing. You couldn't find anything to eat, even though there were people living in it. You know what the land looks like now? We took the Negev, we took the desert, and we made it bloom. We made drip irrigation. We sent wisdom to the whole world. This land, we're exporting fruits, Jaffa oranges, dates. We export tons of food. Somebody told me today that we have so many peanuts that we send peanuts out to the whole world. And that somebody, his cousin made a local peanut butter because we're sending so many peanuts out. At least let's make our own local peanut butter. We have so much. There's just bounty. There's so much blessing. You go to the shuk, you go to the marketplace, it's bursting with Israeli fruits and produce. The land is blooming once again. And what do we see? We see hordes of Jews returning to the land of Israel, that the land is blooming once again. It hasn't bloomed and blossomed like this in 2,000 years. For 2,000 years, all the historians would describe coming to Israel as this horrible place, this inhospitable place. Where you were, that's nice, in the hills, there's trees. Is it barren, where you were for the meditation retreat? With lush, beautiful rivers, fruits. It's blooming and blossoming once again. The redemption is upon us. So we see this every single day in Shmoneh Esrei, that what's the reason why we first say, let the land burst forth with fruits, is because that's going to be a sign when the land is bursting forth with fruits, that we're once again going to see that the exiles will start to come back. Anybody know what's the next blessing that we say after the exiles? Take a look in the Siddur. The next blessing that we say after the ingathering of the exiles is?
Restoration of justice.
The restoration of justice. Now, what's that all about? We're asking that the courts should be returned. What kind of courts are we talking about? Corrupt courts?
No.
Talking about the real courts. The courts of absolute truth. The courts of judges that are God-fearing people. The courts of judges that are not accepting of bribes. The courts that will reestablish godly justice back to the world. Because there's something very noble when justice is served. If you've ever seen when something bad is taken to justice, it feels right. It feels just. That if somebody is trying to wiggle out of some judgment that is due to them, when that person's caught and their evilness is brought to light, it feels right. There's like a retribution that's right. That a person thought that I can hide all the shady things that I'm doing. No, we have to reveal that. We have to call that out. That's one thing a person notices when they come to yeshiva, that there's this air of justice in the air. Everything is just, we want it to be just and right. And we're really into right and wrong around here. And what's the right thing to do? And owning up to one's actions. And manning up. And just being there and honest and good. It's so much of value that we have. So, now that all the exiles have come back to the land, this is the bracha that we're up to. Tikka b'shofar gadol. Bring back all the exiles. Well, at that point, there's going to be a mixture. All the exiles are back. There's going to be a mixture of those that were the righteous ones and those that were doing crooked things. So at that point, there needs to be a justice. So just imagine it right now. The land starts blooming, bursting with fruits. You tell me if you feel we're in this stage. People are coming back to the land in large numbers. This is what's happening right now. People are coming back a lot. There's going to be a reestablishment of courts. But the real courts, absolute justice. And those that are shady, they're going to be taken to court. And they're going to have to man up and own up to the things that they're doing. When I say man up, I mean human up. It could be man up, woman up. I'm saying a general term, a human, to really own up to one's wrongdoings. That will be a very powerful time. That people, that the righteousness will come to light, and that which is not righteous will have to be judged. Now, what happens after that? What's the next blessing? So the next blessing is that the wicked ones who are going in crooked ways are going to be separated out. But there's even a more intense level. The ones that are really crooked. There's those that weren't good. But then there's something called ala malshinim, ala zaydim. Those are the ones that are really, really trying to rebel against God. That was the extra bracha that was added into Shmoneh Esrei. That was made for those that were really, really trying to fight God. Meaning people who knew better and despite knowing better said, let's make a war.
Is there a difference between fighting God, rebelling God, and wrestling with God?
So, fighting, a person could fight a little bit, but he doesn't really know better. Like, if my kids, I love my children, but kids fight. If the kid is like, one's pulling the other one's hair, and they might be fighting, but they're not like rebelling. They're not like scheming to destroy each other. Baruch Hashem. Allah Aleichem, everyone should have wonderful children.
Amen.
But there's a natural, kids fight. So somebody could fight God. He might be upset or something, but there's something different if he knows better. He knows better, and he goes to rebel. And not only that, he knows that he's rebelling, and he starts going to other people and starting to take them. Join my rebellion. And he pulls otherwise good people, he sees a likely prey, and he takes them off the good path. He gets them involved in his schemes and stuff like that. That's way worse. Something that's pulling other people into your rebellion, that's very, very bad. So that's the malshinim. That's going to be a stage that even those people are going to have to be, sadly, and that energy of evil is going to have to be dealt with. So just imagine the scene. The land is bursting with fruits. Everyone's coming home. The first time in 2,000 years, almost the majority of the Jewish people are in the land. And we're opening this land. We want humanity to know the beauty of Israel, the beauty of Yerushalayim. Anyone who's crooked, though, is going to have a court case. Real intense crookedness is going to be, the spotlight is going to be shined on those skeletons. That's why now is the time to do tshuva. That's why we didn't mention this, but the blessing on repenting, which is not my favorite word, tshuva means manning up, owning up to if a person did something wrong. Using the time right now, because at a certain point, everything kicks into high gear and there's not going to be enough time to do it. So this is the time now to do it. After that, though, we're going to have to leave off in a cliffhanger. You know what the next step is in the sequence? The blessing on the righteous. Because once a person knows that all the other evil plots that people have and that people get drawn off course to follow all sorts of things, once a person knows that that's not an option anymore, and they realize that the most beautiful option in the world is listening to Itchy Meyer and Sue Meyer and all the Gedolim, that is the most beautiful thing in the world, listening to the great, great tzaddikim, they're going to see that in absolute clarity. So we're going to end on a cliffhanger. Mashiach's not here yet, but it's all unfolding before our very eyes. We should be Zaycha Mamish today to Mashiach, Tzidkeinu, and the Binyan Beis HaMikdash, B'mhera V'yameinu. Amen. Have a wonderful day, my friends. Call to. Thank you. Call to.